Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2021-22 season. My name is Dan and today I thought I would show you my initial Gameweek 8 wildcard template draft, whatever you want to call it, my first thoughts on my team of what my wildcard will look like this week. Because guys, some of you may know I am on a wildcard right now going into Gameweek 8 across the international break. I'm going to be tinkering a lot, I'm going to be figuring things out, but this is where I'm at right now. Now yesterday in my stream, some of you guys might have watched it already. I did kind of reveal this team already and I kind of spoke a little bit about why I'm using a wildcard, how I'm going to be using my wildcard. But what I want to do in this video is really talk about the players specifically and why I am choosing them for my team, or at least why I think right now I will be choosing them, because we all know as the couple of weeks go by, as it's 10 days until the deadline, there's probably going to be a few changes between now and then. But I thought it might be interesting to get some early thoughts in there anyway. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. Of course, if you do, please leave a like. It massively helps out the channel. And of course, subscribe if you're new around here. Hashtag road to 100k. Let's go. So yeah, let's wipe the slate clean, if you will. So here it is, the blank pitch. If you are on a wild card, it is a fresh pitch for you all, a new start. Our team value in this video is 101. Now normally when I'm making a wild card draft, I will try and keep the team value around 100. So this is slightly more than usual, but the only reason why it's slightly more than 100 this time is because this is not just a wild card draft, this is literally my team. So yeah, that's the only reason why the budget is a little bit higher, because my budget is a little bit higher. But I will kind of try and help you out of where you can maybe cut some corners and save a little bit of money if that's something you'd like to do. But without further ado, let's get some players on this pitch. So the first player we are going to put on the pitch is Aaron Ramsdale. No surprise here. Arsenal have got some really good fixtures. Arsenal defensively are looking a little bit stronger. We've kind of seen them keep 3 clean sheets in the last 4 games. You could say, yes, they've had some slightly easier fixtures, I guess, but then you look at their fixtures upcoming. Again, quite nice fixtures. Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, Leicester there, who are not taking too many shots, but they are Arsenal's bogey team, I suppose. But we've got Watford there as well. Now, Ramsdale has been performing fantastically for Arsenal. He really has revolutionised the back line in many ways. He's been really just a fantastic goalkeeper, and it does seem like that Leno has been frozen out of the team, and Leno is potentially leaving the club in January. So for that reason, it really does look like Ramsdale is going to be nailed in the Premier League, and Leno is only really going to be coming in for those cup games for Arsenal. So we are going to be expecting a nice solid Ramsdale run of fixtures, playing every single game. We really like that. I know a lot of you guys are worried, but I don't think there's too much to be worried about here. You're picking at the end of the day a goalkeeper for just 4.6 million now, for one of the top teams in the whole league historically, of course. So yeah, it's a good pick. It's very, very cheap for a goalkeeper for a team as big as Arsenal, that's for sure. So we'll move on into defence anyway. We've got Trent Alexander-Arnold to start off. He is now up to 50% chance of playing, which is a nicer change. It's a nice change to the 0% chance of playing that we had last week. But look, guys, a lot of people who made their wildcard last week, who have made their wildcard this week maybe as well, are omitting Trent Alexander-Arnold from their team. Now, guys, if you keep Trent in your team, you are going to have an advantage over these people, because these people, they say, okay, I'm just going to take out Trent for now. I'll get him in later. It won't happen. Now, I could speak about why Trent is such an amazing pick and why he's an amazing FPL asset. I think we all know that by now. Playing for a really good defence, the most creative player in the entire league, no matter what position you're thinking of. Trent is he's an amazing FPL pick. What I want to talk about is people who are leaving him out. And the people who are leaving him out are going to struggle to get him back in, because Trent is such an awkward price. There is no other defender around his price, or more expensive than him. There's no one. So if you are trying to get Trent in your team, for example, say you've got Cancelo with the intention of maybe transferring out Cancelo and bringing in Trent at a later date, you've got to find 1.5 million in order to do that. So what we're really talking about is using 2 transfers to make one move, or leaving a bunch of money in your bank. Neither of these things are optimal things to do. We're also talking about booking in a transfer. Now, you might have heard me speak about booking in a transfer before. And it's basically the idea of creating a team with the intention of forcing yourself essentially to make specific transfer moves in the future. Now, we all know by now, FPL doesn't work like that. You think you're going to make one transfer and then you get an injury here, you get a red card there, someone gets COVID, someone goes badly out of form, someone gets in amazing form, and you have to use your transfer to buy this new in-form player. And these are the places where you want to be using your transfers. It sounds like this is using them reactively, but you're actually being proactive by being open-minded, by being flexible. And booking in a transfer is not flexible, and it's not something I really want to do, particularly if Trent is kind of only going to be out maximum, one game. That's kind of maximum. He's probably going to be back for Watford. And even if it's not, it's one game. We can cover that with a bench. And particularly if you're on a wild card, you can solidify your bench by filling it with really cheap, but really good cheap players. So it's really, really easy to cover it, especially if you're on a wild card. So that's kind of my spiel on Trent Alexander-Arnold, but I've spoken about him enough. Let's whiz through these defenders. We've got Cancelo in here, and I would just mention Cancelo. Yeah, Cancelo, probably one of the number one picks, I would say, for defence right now. Manchester City have this really nice run of fixtures. Burnley, Brighton, Crystal Palace. And Cancelo, to be fair, has been one of Man City's best players for, well, this entire season, really. And to be fair, last season as well. And now we're kind of seeing Cancelo playing very, very regularly. In fact, he's playing every game. And what I am kind of seeing a little bit with Pep Guardiola is that he isn't rotating quite as much as he did last season. And I think maybe, I don't know, was the Champions League final this big eureka moment where Pep kind of said, okay, maybe we actually do need a slightly more solidified squad. And if there is that solidified squad, who is in that squad? Well, Cancelo is a starting player. He's playing pretty much every single game. Even if he misses 1 in 10, which I think was probably where we're at, we're probably going to see Cancelo miss maybe, 1 in 8, 1 in 10, something like that. But again, we can cover it on the bench by bringing in those 4.1, 4.2 million defenders, put them on our bench that can cover them for one game, because in all likeliness, if Cancelo doesn't start a game, he's not likely to come on for a one-pointer. So as long as you've got a strong bench, you should be absolutely fine there. And when he does play, we've got a real good chance of clean sheets because Man City are the best defence in the league. And of course, those attacking returns, because he is just that attacking. He does get forward so much, kind of in a similar vein to Trent. He's like a mini Trent in a way, which is quite nice to have 2 Trents in one team, right? That's pretty amazing, right? Anyway, we've got Rudiger next. And the reason why we're going for Rudiger instead of someone else in the Chelsea defence, because there are plenty of Chelsea defenders. We all want Chelsea defenders. I mean, look at these fixtures, guys. Brentford, Norwich, Newcastle, Burnley. Got to have a Chelsea defender or two in there, haven't you? But the reason why we're going for Rudiger rather than, Reece James a little bit, a slight bit of rotation risk there, with Azpilicueta potentially playing on the right wing back position, Hudson-Odoi potentially playing there as well. We've got Chilwell and Alonso. Again, we're going to see some rotation there as well. We've got Thiago Silva, we've got Christensen. Those guys are going to rotate a little bit. We've got Chalobah. He's kind of not really nailed at all right now. Then we've got Rudiger, who seems to be the most nailed on player. Now, you could also say that Azpilicueta is also a very nailed on player. I completely agree with that. I would say that Azpilicueta and Rudiger are the 2 most likely to play the most amount of games for Chelsea. But, and there is a big but here, and I don't like big buts, I cannot lie. But Rudiger is a centre-back for 5.8 million. Azpilicueta is a centre-back, and he's going to be costing 6.2 million or something like that by the time the deadline passes. So we really want to be paying 6.2 million or 6.1, 6.2 million for, what is it, just as much attacking threat, another centre-back. Just like Rudiger, Azpilicueta is not going to be getting those, headers from corners or anything like that. I don't know, Rudiger seems like a better bet for slightly cheaper, probably slightly more nailed, and potential attacking returns from those set pieces as well, which Azpilicueta is probably not going to have as much access to. So there seems to be more pros in the side of Rudiger, particularly at the slightly cheaper price. But we'll move on into midfield. We've got Mo Salah here. Do I need to explain this one? Probably not. We could probably just move on from here. He is absolutely amazing. He's in the form of his life. And I honestly, right now, it's difficult for me to say anything other than Salah is probably the best player in the Premier League right now. And, we need to start talking about him as being one of the best players in world football. He's at the top of his game. And I don't think we even want to think about removing him. Some people are saying, well, his fixtures aren't amazing after Watford, are they? It doesn't matter. We saw what he did against Man City. He is fixture-proof. So, yeah, we'll keep him. And it's just a great pick for a long time. But particularly this Watford game, it's very nice indeed. Now, the next one might surprise you. Number 5 might surprise you. Because this next player is Phil Foden. Now, you're probably screaming at your screens right now, Dan, what are you thinking? You have gone crazy picking a Man City midfielder, rotation risk. Foden, is he going to play? Is he going to play regularly? Well, like I said, I do think there's going to be slightly less rotation from Pep. But the thing is, I do think Foden is going to become one of the starting players for Man City. Now, we're talking about potential some players being out after international break for Man City. Foden is most likely going to be very much available for this first game against Burnley. We're talking about Foden actually being one of the main players at Manchester City, and now that he is back and fit, he has started, 2 games since he's been fit. He came on for 1 game off the bench as he was recovering, and then 2 games since then he started back-to-back. So I do think he is going to be a main player for Manchester City. He's got some really nice fixtures coming up. We've seen what he can do. We saw against Liverpool what he can do. We've seen for a long time what he can do. He's getting better and better and better. He's obviously going to be one of the best football players in the world in a couple of years. I don't think anyone is doubting that, really. And he's got this amazing run of fixtures: Burnley, Brighton and Crystal Palace. But now this is the thing: it's not just about going for attacking this Man City run of fixtures, because that is what I'm doing here with Foden. At the end of the day, I'm attacking a bunch of fixtures with a Manchester City attacker. I could equally go for Grealish here. By the way, guys, I may change my mind on this. This is not a set player in this team by any stretch of the imagination, but it's an interesting thought for now, which is why I kind of wanted to introduce the concept to you now. So you're not too surprised if I do end up going with Foden in my final wildcard team. But what we've got is a player who's 7.9 million. Now, a lot of you guys, when you're making your wildcard teams, you will find that most of those teams will end up with very few, probably one, it'll be Salah, and then after that, all your other midfielders are likely to be 6.5, 6, 5.5, maybe even 5 million priced players. Now, that is not flexible. It's not flexible at all, because with Phil Foden, what we can do, if a player emerges, I want to get Jota back, I want to get Greenwood back, even if I wanted to go for someone like Zaha, players around Foden's price, it's very easy for me to just switch out Foden and go for another player around that price point. If I'm trying to trade out a 6 million or a 5.5 million midfielder for a player who is around 7.5, 8 million, it's impossible to do that without using 2 transfers. And, it takes away a lot of flexibility by having to use 2 transfers to make 1 transfer move, essentially. So it's not something that we really want to do, because it would mean sacrificing another player and then maybe taking a -4. And then suddenly we're in trouble if we do want a player like Greenwood or someone like that. Or, it's not specific. We don't know who's going to come into form. We don't know who's going to perform really well necessarily. You have to kind of be prepared for sudden changes in FPL in many ways, and that's what Foden does. But it's not just players around Foden's price. Also think about, what if we find that Son is in amazing form, right? What if we find out that Rashford comes back into this Manchester United team and he starts tearing up? How on earth am I going to get a player like that into my team if all I've got is a bunch of 5.5, 6 million midfielders? How on earth am I going to find the cash to upgrade one of them to a Son or whoever else? You're talking about making several transfers. You're talking about sacrificing Lukaku. You're talking about taking like Cancelo down to a 4 million, just a defender or something like that, just to make a very, very basic, or what should be a basic transfer move. So Foden, or a player around Foden's price, just including one player like that, even if you see it as a risk in terms of FPL points, it is a slight risk. What it isn't a risk on is potential transfer moves in the future. There's no risk there. It's actually a really sensible move, when you think about flexibility and price points and keeping your team balanced. In that sense, you can say Foden's a crazy move, but in that sense, it's actually a really sensible move. So, one to dwell on. I know you guys are going to have plenty to say about that one in the comment section, so I do look forward to reading that. But just wanted to put that out there as an idea, as a concept for you guys, and we'll see if I bottle it a little bit closer to the deadline. But we've got our next pick, Rafinha. Now, we don't know for 100% sure if Rafinha is going to be available for Gameweek 8. I should tell you this now, because the final game of the international break, of which Rafinha has been called up for Brazil's international games, their final game is on the day before Leeds play Southampton. Rafinha would have to play in that game and then travel 12 hours from South America back to England and then play Southampton a few hours later. Doesn't seem very likely. Now, the Premier League teams are hoping, and they're really, really hoping, that their Brazilian players of all the Premier League teams, they are hoping that they can excuse these players from that final Brazil game, because there are 3 international games for Brazil now. What's going to happen there, we're not 100% sure. But if these Brazilian players have to play in that final game for Brazil over the international break, then we're going to see no for Rafinha this game week. We're going to see no Firmino, Alisson, Ederson, all kinds of players. There's going to be a lot of absentees. So one to keep an eye on. But I have left Rafinha in here for now, because in an ideal world, I do have Rafinha. I do really like him. really, really good price. Best player at Leeds. Leeds have an amazing run of fixtures. Rafinha is in hot form. I like so much about it. So I'm really, really hoping we can keep Rafinha. But if we can't, we can't. So we've got Mbeumo next. What I will say about this one, now I hyped Mbeumo up a lot pre-season, but didn't actually want to go for him in the first few games of the season because... but basically I didn't really like the fixtures, and I wanted to first have a look at Brentford and see how they played before I jumped on any of their assets. But I did like Mbeumo because I kind of, looking at the back end of last season in the Championship, it looked like Mbeumo might be playing as a second striker. That's exactly what's happened. So what we've got is a striker and a forward who's been listed out of position as a midfielder, and is also 5.5 million, and is also probably going to be the main outlet for shooting in a way, because the way the Mbeumo and Tony are playing is that Tony is, in a way, attracting a lot of the attention of the defenders and playing in Mbeumo, and it seems like Mbeumo is getting the majority of the chances. Now, is Mbeumo as good at finishing as Tony? No, he is not. But he does have a decent record in the Championship over the last few years. He is capable of scoring goals. He's capable of getting assists, and that's from a wing position as well. So he's a young player. He has got plenty of potential. I think he can do it, particularly when he gets this really nice run of fixtures that are coming up for Brentford. After this Chelsea game, after this Leicester game, the fixtures look really good for quite a while as well. So Mbeumo is going to be a player that a lot of you guys might be thinking about picking up in a couple of weeks. But because I'm on a wild card, I'm not going to book in a transfer, like I said earlier. I'm not going to plan to bring in a player when I can have that player right now. Like I say, if I don't want to play him against Chelsea, I can cover him with my bench, and that's probably what I would do as well. So moving up front, we've got Lukaku. Not too much to say here. I know a few people might be put off, but Lukaku had plenty of chances to score last game. It just didn't happen against Southampton. In another game, he scores a hatful. And when we're talking about, particularly the games after Brentford, so, Norwich, Newcastle, Burnley, those 3 games in a row, there's going to be serious opportunities for Lukaku to score a lot of points. He's got pretty good records against teams sort of in the lower half of the table. He's got a pretty good record historically. Now, I know people will probably say, no, that's an outdated view, but even if you look at the statistics from Serie A, he had a pretty good record against the kind of the bottom half team. So it's quite nice to have that player who has that ability to get the occasional haul, get 2-3 goals against a weaker team, because in FPL that's actually something that we really, really like. It's what we really like. I'm not saying he's a small game player, because that's definitely not true. He's performed on every single stage over his career. He's been a fantastic player, but he is more than capable of getting, 2-3 goals in a game against Norwich, and that's kind of what we're going to be hoping for. We're going to be looking to captain him in those games, Norwich, Newcastle, potentially Burnley as well. It's going to be really fantastic. So we've got a really nice captain option there as well. So yeah, plenty of reasons to like Lukaku. I think that his couple of 2-pointers have been a little bit unlucky. Let's see what he can do in the future. We've got Antonio here because, mostly because, if I'm honest, guys, I bought him at 7.5 million and I don't want to lose him at 8 million. Now, yes, his form has dipped, but it's not gone. His form is not gone. I think it's too early to say, yeah, he's not good anymore. When he's fit, Antonio typically does perform. Now, he might go off the boil for periods, but I do think I'm going to hold my trust in him a little bit, just because I am so well invested. If I sell Antonio, I've got to buy him back for 0.3 more than I sold him for, so I'm going to be really out of pocket there. So yeah, for that reason, I know the fixtures aren't amazing. I know that he is showing signs of declining in his form. I don't think it's over until it's over in a way. So let's just calm down and see what he can do. And then we're going to finish off with Jimenez. And I know a lot of you guys are saying, why Jimenez? Why not go for Hwang Hee-chan? I would say that Jimenez is far more nailed. For a start, Jimenez is on penalties, and also Jimenez has creative ability as well as shooting ability. So we've seen Jimenez really stepping up his creative game this season a lot, and you kind of saw that last game, 2 assists. But I think I said a couple of weeks ago, assists are really on their way for Jimenez, because he is creating so much in that Wolves side. And Wolves have these nice fixtures. We've got Aston Villa next, which is an okay fixture. Then we've got Leeds, Everton, Crystal Palace, really quite nice fixtures for Wolves. So I think we've got to attack that in some way, and I think Jimenez is the way to do that. I don't think Hwang is a bad shout. I would definitely say that you could go for him, particularly if you're on a slightly tighter budget. So for example, if you don't have a 101 budget, that's a really good place, so you can cut a corner there and go for the slightly cheaper option. But Jimenez is far more nailed. He's going to play 90 minutes every game, or near to 90 minutes every single game. But to be fair, he probably is going to play 90 minutes every game, and you're maximising your chances there, which I quite like. So quickly on the bench, because this video is dragging, sorry guys, we've got Ben Foster, because just the best 4 million goalkeeper money can buy. Duffy, because I got him at a pretty cheap price, and I just think he's been fantastic. He seems nailed, and he's a really good cover for this first game, because he's got Norwich away for his game week 8 game, and particularly if we're talking about taking off Trent because he can't play this week, or taking off Mbeumo because I don't like the look of that Chelsea fixture. Duffy, it would be a really good player to bring in straight away and just have their done, sorted, easy peasy. So yeah, really like that Duffy call there. Long term he seems to be nailed, so yeah, we're just going to stick with him. Absolutely. We've got Livramento, who I didn't have before, who I have been eyeing up for a long time. I know a lot of you guys did bring in Livramento rather than Duffy, or maybe some of you guys have both, but I never had Livramento, and honestly I've been kind of jealous of you guys who have had Livramento, because what a great little pick at that price. He seems like absolutely nailed on now, so much that he's actually displaced Walker Peters to the left side of defence. He's playing really well. He's being creative, and now, although Southampton haven't been amazing in terms of defensively, they have had some difficult fixtures, and they've got a really nice run of fixtures coming up now, starting with Leeds at home. Not a bad fixture at all, particularly if we're talking about Rafinha and Bamford being out, for example. Livramento is suddenly going to look like an amazing pick for game week 8, isn't he? So he's going to be good cover for this game week again, but also good cover slightly longer term as well. And finally, we've got Douglas Luiz there, Doug Luiz, as I've put him on there on the screen. 4.5 million midfielder. You could go for a 4.4 million midfielder if you're trying to cut corners, save a little bit of money there. But what I do like about Douglas Luiz for 4.5 million is that he is on set pieces for Aston Villa, which is quite nice when he's kind of whipping in those corners, because Aston Villa have actually scored a couple of corners this season already. We kind of got Tyrone Mings, Courtney House, these kind of giants in defence there who have, been able to score those headed goals and these goals from set pieces. So Douglas Luiz, the fact that he's taken set pieces at 4.5 million, he's starting every single game. Aston Villa keeping the odd clean sheet as well. A few 3-pointers there, a few 5-pointers there, a few even 6-pointers there. It's actually kind of nice. It's actually kind of a nice backup to have there. And although I probably won't need him very often, it is nice to have in an emergency. And we've seen already this season that I've actually had to call up on Brownhill once or twice already this season. So I am kind of thinking in the same vein, am I going to call up on Douglas Luiz at some point? Quite possibly. So yeah, it's nice to have a player who at least has some potential of getting some points, but at least keeping it pretty much baseline price at the same time. But yeah, that could downgrade to a 4.4 million Brownhill or something like that if I just wanted to save a little bit of money, put that in the back pocket for later. Potentially that could happen as well. Let's quickly do captains just for fun. So Salah would be the captain for this game, and Lukaku would be the vice captain, I suppose. And then we'd be looking to probably shift the captain's armband onto Lukaku for that Norwich game, wouldn't we? And potentially the Newcastle and Burnley game as well, depending on how much we can resist the draw of Mo Salah. Yeah, it's going to be difficult to resist, and I think, maybe Salah actually outperforms Lukaku over some of these games. You could easily see it happening, guys, right? But there we go. That is the team. That's pretty much what it would look like. And Mbeumo would probably come off for game week 8. I did want to display it how the team would typically line up, but if Trent is out, if Mbeumo, I don't like the look of him against that Chelsea game, we can think about bringing in Duffy, potentially even Duffy and Livramento there. If Rafinha isn't available, then we could possibly switch him to another midfielder there as well. Maybe even, take a punt on Harrison or Dan James. Probably not. But yeah, there's possibilities there. So that is my team. As I'm currently thinking, it is subject to change. We've got a little while until I have to lock it in. So yeah, just let me know your thoughts, I suppose, on this one. Tell me what you think of this team and where you would change it, what you would do differently, kind of things like that would be really interesting to hear. What you like about it perhaps as well. Yeah, always interested to hear your comments, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do leave a like and subscribe, of course, if you're new around here as well. Plenty of FPL content to come over the international break, as long as you guys want it, that is. Yeah, we're going to do all sorts, particularly a lot of stuff wildcard related, because I know a lot of you guys are wildcarding. I'm wildcarding. It's kind of a big wildcard week for me personally. So yeah, I'm probably going to project that on you guys a little bit. So commiserations to those of you who have not got a wildcard. But hopefully you can take something away from these videos as well, as kind of what players players I'm kind of targeting longer term, what kind of players are worth targeting longer term as well. So yeah, certainly something to think about. But yes, guys, thanks again for watching, and I will see you later, mates. Bye bye.